The wind howls through the void, carrying whispers of forgotten souls. Somewhere beyond our grasp, beyond time itself, lies a realm unseen, a place where the dead do not sleep but exist in ways beyond human comprehension. Have you ever wondered, what are the dead doing right now? Are they watching us? Do they still remember? Or are they trapped in an endless dream, caught between what was and what is yet to come? The answer, hidden in ancient scriptures and long-lost texts, may be far more unsettling than we imagine. The dead know nothing, that once the body falls still, the mind dissolves, the soul drifts into oblivion, and all that remains is silence. But is that truly the case? The Bible, ancient texts, and centuries of human belief tell a different story, one that suggests the dead are far from inactive. Instead, they are merely beyond our sight, lingering in a realm we barely understand. Imagine standing at the edge of an abyss, staring into the unknown. On one side lies the world of the living, bright, loud, full of movement and chaos. On the other, a realm unseen, silent yet teeming with presence. The boundary between these two worlds is thinner than we think, and those who have passed beyond it are not simply erased. They exist somewhere. In Ecclesiastes 9:5, we read, "For the living know that they will die, but the dead know nothing. They have no further reward, and even their name is forgotten." Many take this verse as proof that consciousness ends at death, that the mind, the soul, everything that makes a person who they are, simply vanishes. But if that were true, why do other scriptures paint an entirely different picture? Take Luke 16:19-31, the parable of the rich man and Lazarus. A man who lived in luxury finds himself in torment after death, begging for a single drop of water to cool his burning tongue. Meanwhile, Lazarus, the beggar who suffered in life, is carried by angels to Abraham's bosom, a place of comfort, peace, and divine protection. The rich man remembers his brothers. He speaks, he pleads, he is fully aware. How can the dead know nothing if they still feel, speak, and remember? This contradiction is one of many that raises a chilling question. What if we have misunderstood death all along? In 1 Thessalonians 5:23, Paul speaks of the human being as a combination of three elements: body, soul, and spirit. If the body decays in the earth, what happens to the soul? Does it simply cease to be? Or does it transition, slipping away from the physical world into a new existence? The Bible hints at a reality far more complex than simple extinction. It suggests that death is not an ending, but a passage, a doorway leading into another realm where time, space, and even thought itself do not function the way we know them. Some believe the dead rest, waiting in peaceful slumber until the final day of resurrection. Others say they walk unseen among the living, their spirits tethered to this world by unfinished business, sorrow, or guilt. But what if they are neither sleeping nor wandering? What if they are watching? If the soul endures, if consciousness persists beyond the grave, then where do the dead reside? Are they bound by the rules of our world? Or do they exist in a dimension separate from our own? The Old Testament speaks of Sheol, a shadowy place where the dead gather. Unlike heaven or hell, Sheol is not a place of reward or punishment. It is simply where the souls of the departed reside, waiting. But waiting for what? The New Testament introduces another concept, a division between two realms, one of comfort and one of suffering. The righteous dead are carried to a place of rest, while the wicked are cast into torment. These two spaces exist side by side, yet separated, close enough to see each other but too far to reach. What kind of existence is this? To suffer in flames while paradise lies within sight but forever out of reach. To rest in peace while the agonized screams of the damned echo through the void. Is this justice, or is it something else entirely? Some believe that death strips away the illusion of life, revealing the truth that has always been there. That the moment the body breathes its last, the soul awakens to the reality of its fate, whether that be eternal suffering, eternal bliss, or something else entirely. One thing remains certain. If the dead are aware, if they think, if they feel, then death is not an end. It is merely the next step in a journey we do not yet understand. And for those who still live, the greatest question is not what happens to the dead. It is what will happen to us. If they still feel, if they still remember, then where are they? Are they drifting through space, watching silently from the void? Or are they somewhere far more structured, far more defined than we imagine? The Book of Enoch offers an answer, one far more unsettling than the peaceful visions of heaven we often picture. It speaks of a place where heaven and hell exist side by side, close enough for the souls of the blessed and the damned to see one another. A place where joy and suffering are separated by a thin, unbreakable veil. Imagine it, a vast land where golden trees sway beneath an eternal light, where rivers of honey and milk flow through fields of endless green. This is paradise, the resting place of the righteous. Here the air is sweet with the scent of flowering trees, and the ground shimmers with an ethereal glow. It is a place of peace, untouched by pain, where those who walk the path of righteousness are finally rewarded. But just beyond the trees, just past the golden rivers, lies something else entirely: darkness. A land of fire and ice where light does not reach. The air is thick with the stench of burning flesh and the cold bite of endless frost. In this place, there is no rest, only torment. Screams echo through the shadows, endless cries of regret and agony. This is the other side. The Book of Enoch describes it in terrifying detail, a land of perpetual suffering, where souls are bound in chains of fire, their bodies writhing as flames consume them, only for the pain to begin anew. A place where thirst is eternal, yet no water exists, where hunger gnaws at the soul, but no food can ever satisfy. The contrast is horrifying. Those in paradise live in bliss, tasting the sweetness of divine reward. Yet at any moment, they can look beyond the boundary and see the tormented souls of those who failed, those who lived in wickedness, those who refused the path of righteousness. And those in torment, they too can see. They see the ones they loved, the ones they once walked beside, now feasting, laughing, rejoicing in the eternal warmth of the Creator's presence. They call out, they reach, but the divide is uncrossable. It is a punishment greater than fire, greater than chains. To know that peace exists, but never again be able to touch it. Enoch himself was taken to this place, and what he saw left him shaken. He described it as a realm beyond human understanding, where time did not flow, where suffering had no end, where the souls of the wicked relived their worst regrets over and over, bound in endless torment. It was there in that cursed place that he saw the greatest horror of all. Those who did not know they were dead, wandering in shadows, trapped in their final moments, reliving their sins over and over, unable to escape the reality of their own fate. This, Enoch says, is what awaits those who do not walk the path of righteousness. But there is another question, one far more disturbing. If heaven and hell exist side by side, if the dead can see each other across the divide, then who else is watching? And more importantly, are they watching us? If they feel, if they see, then what do they know? Do they understand their fate? Do they remember their past? Do they watch over the living, whispering in our ears, influencing our thoughts? Or are they merely passengers in a realm beyond time, waiting for something unknown? The Apostle Paul once glimpsed this realm. He called it the third heaven. He was taken beyond the earthly realm, beyond the stars, into a place so indescribable that human language failed him. What he saw, what he heard, he was forbidden to share. Why? What was so terrible, so overwhelming, that even Paul, a man who faced death without fear, could not put it into words? The Book of Enoch gives us a clue. When Enoch was taken beyond the first and second heavens, he reached a place unlike any other, a place where two opposite forces coexisted. On one side, the tree of life, standing in the middle of paradise, its golden branches stretching towards eternity. The air was thick with the scent of sacred fruit, its presence radiating pure divine energy. This was the place where the souls of the righteous rested, where they waited in peace, shielded from the suffering of the world they left behind. But when Enoch turned his gaze in the other direction, he saw something else. A land swallowed by darkness. A place where flames never ceased to burn, yet the cold of death was just as unbearable. Here, there was no sun, no stars, no guiding light, only endless torment. The cries of the lost souls rose in waves, merging into a chorus of agony that never faded. Enoch stood at the border between these two realms, watching as they existed in disturbing proximity. Heaven and hell, side by side, light and darkness interwoven. And in that moment he understood. The afterlife was not some distant, faraway place. It was here, layered upon the reality of the living, unseen yet ever present. The souls of the dead did not vanish. They simply moved to another part of existence, separated from us by an invisible veil. And then came the most chilling revelation of all. Some souls, he realized, were not aware of their fate. They wandered, confused, trapped in the final moments of their lives, unable to move on, unable to accept what had happened to them. They relived their deaths over and over, trapped in an endless loop of regret, unable to change the choices that had sealed their destiny. But even worse, there were those who knew. They understood exactly what had happened. They understood exactly where they were. And they watched. Not just the souls beside them, not just the paradise forever out of reach. They watched the living. They saw the world they left behind. They saw their loved ones moving forward, forgetting them, unaware of the eyes lingering just beyond the veil. And for some, those bound in suffering, this was the cruelest torment of all. To watch the living go on while they remained in darkness. To scream but never be heard. To reach out but never be felt. To know that the world has moved forward while they never will. Paul perhaps had seen this too. Perhaps that was why he could not speak of what he witnessed, because some knowledge is too terrifying to share. And if the dead can see us, if they can watch us from the other side, then we must ask ourselves a question. What do they think of us? Are they proud? Or do they weep, knowing what fate awaits? If they watch as we move through life unaware of their gaze, then what else do they know? Do they still feel emotions, love, regret, anger? Do they long to speak, to warn, to reach across the veil that separates us? Or are they trapped, forced to witness the unfolding of time, powerless to intervene? And the most haunting question of all, do they remember us? Some believe that spirits linger, that they never truly leave the ones they loved. They whisper in the wind, they flicker in the shadows, they make their presence known in the quiet moments when the living least expect it. Others say that the dead, once gone, are gone forever, unable to return, unable to interact, locked away in their eternal fate. But the Book of Enoch suggests something else. It speaks of souls held in waiting, neither in torment nor in paradise, but somewhere in between. A realm where they are neither fully gone nor fully present, where they drift in silence, aware of the living world but unable to touch it. Imagine being one of them. You see the people you left behind. You hear their voices, their laughter, their cries. You watch them move through life, struggling, celebrating, growing older. You reach for them, desperate to make them feel your presence, to let them know that you are still here. But they do not see you. They do not hear you. And slowly you realize you are nothing more than a memory. For some souls, this is a peaceful fate. They watch with quiet acceptance, waiting patiently for the final resurrection, for the moment when time will end and judgment will come. But for others, it is a torment unlike any other. Imagine the souls of the wicked, those who lived selfishly, those who caused pain, those who left behind destruction in their wake. They see the damage they have done, the lives they have ruined, the suffering they have left behind. And yet, they can do nothing to change it. The regret is endless, the awareness is suffocating, and then there are those who refuse to let go. They do not accept their fate. They do not move on. They fight against the silence, against the separation, against the finality of death. And sometimes, just sometimes, the living feel them. A whisper in the night, a shadow at the edge of vision, a sudden chill in a warm room, a presence that cannot be explained. The Bible warns against seeking contact with the dead. It speaks of spirits that deceive, of forces beyond human understanding. It tells us that there is a barrier between the worlds, one that should not be crossed. But what if the dead are not the ones trying to cross it? What if they are merely waiting for the day when the veil will be lifted, waiting for the moment when the living will finally see, waiting for the final judgment when all will be revealed and the dead will rise again? And when that day comes, will they still recognize us? Or will we too become nothing more than shadows in the past, watching from the other side, waiting for someone to remember? Life remains shrouded in mystery, yet one truth is certain: death is not the end. It is merely the beginning of something far greater, far more terrifying, and far more profound than we can ever imagine. So tell me, when the time comes, where will you be?